15 weeks of me connecting the dots, 15 weeks since I turned 49 and started to have conversations with other people about what happens in their world and the things that make up the dots in their life. And I've really enjoyed it and it's still going. And I just thank you for everyone that's been part of my passion project. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. And I wanted to go back to the first guy who just had no framework of what was happening. And said to him, hey, I want to sit and ask you questions in front of a camera. And as I've sort of evolved it a little bit from there, I wanted to go back and ask him better questions about what he does in his part of the world and how he impacts those around him. So this week, I get to ask somebody for a favor a second time, and we go and connect with BZ. Is BZ 2.0. And well, why that is this all started when we would go running and I kept bouncing off BZ 1.0, the whole idea of putting together a podcast where I'd sit and, chat to people. And with running with BZ, I came up with a bit of a framework that I'd ask these series of questions for everyone. And I did that with BZ 1.0 and it flew out the window straight after that. And so what I've been doing since is I've been asking people questions about the actions they do in their world and that interest me. And so I wanted to get BZ back to do exactly that. So BZ 2.0, you do a lot of stuff in the world that interests me, and I want to ask you about that today. Okay. So let's start with, what do you do?
Well, actually, I've only just recently celebrated my 30 years of public service.
Wow.
So I started back in 1994 down in South Australian government, and I've been up here since 2005. So yeah, 30 years in the public service. Having said that, obviously work for the government, so I can't tell you too many things.
I notice there's actually in the club a big collection of people that work for the public service.
Yeah, but what I enjoy about my work is I'm not really after too much of a career path. I don't want to become a DG or a minister or anything of that nature, but I just love contributing to other people's worlds to make their life easier or achieve whatever they need to achieve. So within work, there's red tape and there's different things that happen at management levels and within an organization, and with government, obviously there's a few more red tape moments, legislation and so on. But what I certainly do enjoy is contributing to helping other colleagues achieve their goals, their objectives. And obviously for some people, it is career path. And so if I'm able to help out in that regard, and then that crosses over to what I really love and passionate about, that is helping other people achieve in their running world or their personal lives as well.
Which now, just in that very small little bit, makes all that much sense about how I came to know you, which is through the running group and your position with that it is all about wanting to serve, wanting to help.
Yeah, just wanting to give back to the community.
So tell me about the running club. You've been involved in it how long?
Yeah, so Moreton Bay Roadrunners. I started running with the club at about 2017, 18, 2018 probably. And then obviously got so much from them, as well as Sandgate Park Run, and then got a tap on the shoulder within the club to seek out or ask if I wanted to do some coaching, and just jumped at the opportunity because it meant I could obviously coordinate and encourage others to support them in getting the best out of themselves and accomplish their achievements or their goals.
Excellent.
So that kicked off in about 2018, and then I served on the committee for a couple of years, and then stepped up to president. This is my 4th year as president.
Yeah, wow. Club's grown over that time. When you came along as president, how big was the club?
Yeah, the club, 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago, we were sitting around 125, 130. And I think last week, we're up to 250. So it's doubled in the last 3.5 years.
Yeah, wow. Phenomenal. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think we're going through a surge of running. We see that in that every single event gets sold out these days. Gold Coast sold out, Sunny Coast sold out, Melbourne sold out in a day. So I think we've got a healthier community now. When I stepped into the president role was 2020, and we had COVID that year. So it was challenging in that we couldn't congregate as a group. You had to run in isolation, or distance wise as well. You couldn't travel far from home. So maybe the surge after being locked down we didn't have parkrun for 9 months. We ran as a virtual club, whereas now we meet up every month and do a club run time trial. In that period, we were doing virtual runs and still trying to encourage the connectivity and encouraging people to get out there and exercise. I think it's just the encouragement you get. I think that's what's really building and flowing on. Some people are hesitant to join a club. It doesn't take too long when they join our club for people to really connect with the fact that we're not out competing with each other. We're out to encourage each other to achieve, and everybody is so supportive.
Yeah, absolutely. The club used to have a annual run from the jetty to the jetty, and that is now actually an event called Jetty to Jetty. It's owned by the club, run by an external organisation called Embrit, and they put on a fabulous event that's growing as well.
Absolutely.
Year to year, every year it's getting better. Tell us about some of the history of that.
Yeah, so the club started in 1985. We had a couple of locals at Redcliffe just go out for a run together. Established the club the following year, and there's about 124 people that ran the first jetty to jetty. From that, it's obviously exploded. We still ran the year of COVID. We had a delayed start to it, and we implemented wave starts. So obviously around social distancing, but that also helps on our course as well, because we run up towards Scarborough on road and pathway. So it just sort of stretches out the Kilda a little bit. But this year was fantastic. We actually had a sellout. So we had our biggest field. We had over 5,000 participants. There were nearly 1,800 of those who ran their very first jetty to jetty, whether it was 3, 5, 10 or 21. 365 people ran their very first half marathon, and we had 51 this year. Emirates went through the books and the records and identified we had 51 people this year who were running their 10th or more jetty to jetty out of the 36, 38 that we've run. So that was quite a celebration as they came in for the race bib, and they were presented with a special gold bib. And we also had over a dozen countries represented as well.
Oh, wow.
So that was pretty spectacular.
Well, now that you've mentioned countries, you've run in a few different countries. You like a little bit of travel.
Yeah.
Let's start with how many countries you've been to?
I didn't actually travel till the year I turned 40. So
Right. So you've only been traveling a couple of years.
yeah, I only been traveling last, 1 or 2 years, same age. Yeah, I ended up going to Vegas for a week for my 40th, but then 2016, and the last probably 6 or 7 years. So I've done a bit of traveling. So my son's been traveling overseas for the last 10 years. So I caught up with him in Vietnam, ran a marathon in Vietnam, and went back. He's in Bristol, UK at the moment. So I went overseas last year, ran Bath, as well as running Tarawera in New Zealand, doing Auckland late last year as well, marathon. So heading off again shortly too, going to catch up with my son, and we're traveling overseas, find another marathon. So Sweden's the next one for me after Sunny Coast next week.
So you've mentioned a few marathons. How many have you done all up?
31 marathons and 7 ultras.
Right.
Anything above a marathon.
Okay. So on top of the 30...
On top of 31, I've done 7.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And what's the furthest distance you've run?
104, Tarawera. It's a beautiful place to be.
What's your favorite distance?
I really enjoyed 42.
Okay.
So, I sort of go out to appreciate the environment, appreciate space. A really quirky and cool one was I think I spoke last time we caught up, was the idea of doing a marathon in every state and territory. So I'd never been to WA. But
I was going to ask you about
how I've been
the island you went to over there.
So headed over to Rottnest Island off of Perth.
Yep.
Caught the ferry over in the morning. It's 4 laps. You cover about a quarter of the island, do 4 laps of a 10K loop. There's a bit at the start. And I was actually, in my mind, I was still focused on what time I could achieve and that sort of thing. And as soon as I started, I just thought, why am I looking at my watch for pace instead of taking in the scenery? So switched off to the watch all complete and just ran and took it all in. Ended up doing a pretty great time. I ran through to start the 4th lap, saw the time clock and thought, if I could do a 5-minute pace, this will be a pretty good run. I didn't see the weather forecast. The last lap was pretty phenomenal. We had a storm cell come through for about 40 minutes, stinging rain at 40K mark, running through water up to my knees for about 25 meters. But it just added to the humor, the excitement, the scenery. The little quackers took a bit of shelter where they could. But it was a fantastic run, fantastic trip.
Yeah, awesome. You, not last year or the year before, one of those years was the year where you PB'd almost every running distance. What's your next PB going to be?
Well, I PB'd, was it 4 weeks ago at Gold Coast?
Oh, right.
So in the marathon. I'm obviously marathon fit at the moment. So I think to do so, speed short work, just your legs. And obviously if you're carrying any injuries or recovery, I find for me, 3 weeks after a marathon is probably the great time to then start to apply some speed works. But how it's worked out for me this year is I've been running a marathon every month. So I don't get that opportunity. Well, that's what my focus has been. So I haven't been doing any of the speed work to sort of push the limits of my 5, 10, 21 Ks this year.
What's your, so it's 4 weeks old, your PB for a marathon. What have you got your time down to?
So I cracked 3:20, 3:19, 37.
Yeah, awesome.
So I was pretty chuffed. Just ran to feel the whole way. I try to adopt everything that I encourage other people. So I was toying with the idea of going out hard and seeing how I went, but to watch the half marathon the day before, saw a few people not look too great with 500 meters to go and thought, well, that's going to be me at 30K if I push too hard in the marathon. So just, pushed the limits a little bit, but ran to feel, looked after myself for 32. And with 32 to go, I knew that I could sustain that pace. Dropped a little bit as the legs started to tighten a bit, but pretty happy to get to 40K, look at the watch and realize I had 12K to get under the 3:20.
Yeah, awesome.
That's 12 minutes, sorry, to get under the 3:20.
Yeah. What's your favorite place that you've done a marathon?
You've asked me this before, and I just say for every single run that I've done, I can take a happy memory from every single one of them. Rottnest Island's spectacular, crazy with the weather and seeing the quokkas jump around. Vietnam's still my hottest run ever. It's 98% humidity, 38 degrees. And I passed out at dinner about 12 hours later. There's so much beauty to be had in everywhere we get to run.
Yeah. What's still on the bucket list in terms of a location to run or do a marathon?
Yeah, I've still got Northern Territory. I've never been to Northern Territory. So that's the last one in Australia as far as covering off each state and territory. I'm just open to what comes. Different opportunities arise. I've chatted with different mates about doing different events overseas. We might get you along to your third marathon. We'll see. But no, open to everything. Just enjoying it, enjoying the ride.
How many marathons you're looking to do?
Looking at 12 this year, and who knows what comes next year.
Okay.
Yeah. What would entice you to travel? You ask other people if they travel, but I know you haven't done a great deal of travel. I find that there's a draw card to travel. So whether it's family reunions, school reunions, something about the destination draws you. For me, running in another location is pretty phenomenal. What would entice you to travel?
That's a good question. And I guess not one I've ever had put to me like that.
Yeah.
I find just traveling around Australia is amazing. And I guess I haven't brought my head to realize that there's probably even more to look at overseas, because every time I go somewhere just in this country, I'm like, wow, that's amazing. I love Tasmania. That was impressive. What would make me want to go overseas? I guess we're all connected by people. So I guess it would be when I find somebody I'm connected to in the world that I want to go visit or see, maybe that might be the catalyst.
So if I move, you'll come run with me.
I feel in this very moment, I must say, so that would be the case.
Beautiful.
Where are you moving to?
We'll see.
If you were going to live in another part of the world, where would you live?
There's so much. I enjoy travel around Australia as well. What has completely blown my eyes to travel overseas is it's just the age, the history to it all. Like when you look at a marble step and it's concave because it's thousands of years old, and the amount of footsteps that have just, worn that step away, it's pretty phenomenal. And the architecture of the building. So
Yeah.
I'm happy with Australia, mate. I'm happy with Sandgate.
Yeah, this is a great part of the world to not only live, make friends, run.
Yeah. Another question for you. What's the most, you've been doing this, connecting the dots for a little bit now.
Yep.
What's the most profound thing that you've discovered and appreciated thus far?
I really enjoyed chatting to Josh from Masogi Hats and just how that was born out of that passion project to look after mental health. And instead of just, playing around the fringes with something, they just went all in and created a hat brand and that meant something really important to them. I really enjoyed chatting to him and learning that on the fly. I didn't know anything about that when I chatted to him. I think what I enjoy about this little passion project of mine is I get to ask people about things that would seem really weird to in another sense. If we were sitting in the bar and I just started having this conversation with you, even though I know you well, it doesn't fit. It just seems weird. And it shouldn't. We should actually get to know each other in the world by asking these types of questions. And this just gave me a real shortcut way to do it. So I just love that type of stuff.
Magic. Magic.
Thank you very much for coming along and chatting to me, BZ 2.0.
All right.
And I'll see you on not a marathon out there somewhere,
Sub 20.
but I'll see you out there on the running track somewhere.
Magic.
Thank you.
All right.
Wait, are you ever going to shave your beard off?
The last time I did it, my kids were really young.
We'll have to do it that if you ever decide you're going to shave your beard off again, that'll be when I have one. We'll run along the
Confuse
waterfront
people.
and see if we can't just confuse a couple of people.